All right, let's just jump right in. What if everything you think you know about the beginning of human history is wrong? Today, we're going to dive into a pretty radical idea, one that suggests our story is way, way older and a lot more mysterious than we've ever been told. So let's start with this one question, right? What if advanced civilizations existed thousands of years before Egypt and then just vanished? I mean, really think about that. It challenges everything, doesn't it? It completely sets the stage for a journey into a past that's been forgotten, a world that might have existed long before our own. Okay, so to really get why this idea is so, well, revolutionary, we gotta first lay out the timeline that we all learned in school. The official story of how civilization is supposed to have started. Right, so the accepted history goes something like this. Around 10,000 BCE, we figure out agriculture, farming. That lets us stop wandering around and build settled communities. Those little towns then grow into the first cities, and boom, out of those cities you get the first great civilizations, right? Egypt, Sumeria. It's a very neat, tidy, step-by-step story. But there's a problem. A huge problem. A discovery in what is now Turkey doesn't just poke a hole in this story. It completely shatters the whole timeline. 12,000 years. Let that number sink in for a second. That's the age of a site called Göbekli Tepe. And this isn't some little ruin. It's a massive, sprawling complex of these huge, intricately carved stone pillars. To give you some perspective here, that's more than twice as old as the Great Pyramids of Giza. Just wow. And here's where it gets really wild. This discovery just flips the entire script. See, the official story says, first you get farming, then you get cities, and then you get the resources to build big, fancy temples. But Göbekli Tepe shows the exact opposite. People built this massive, sophisticated temple complex first, a full 6,000 years before we even figured out how to farm. It's completely backward from what we've been taught. So this leaves us with a giant, glaring question. How did hunter-gatherers build this thing? I mean, these were supposedly small, nomadic groups of people. They shouldn't have had the complex social structure, the sheer manpower, or the engineering know-how for a project of this scale. So how'd they do it? And you know what? Mainstream history doesn't really have a good answer for that. Okay, so if the official timeline is pretty much broken, where do we look for more clues? Well, let's turn our attention to the one place we always thought it all began, good old ancient Egypt. You see, when you look at the time before the first pharaohs, in what's called pre-dynastic Egypt, you find some really weird stuff. You find knowledge that seems to just appear out of thin air. We're talking about incredibly precise stone-cutting technology that we would struggle to replicate even today, and sophisticated spiritual symbols and hieroglyphs that just show up, fully formed, with no obvious period of development. It's like they skipped all the beta testing. All this evidence, it really forces you to ask a pretty critical question, doesn't it? Did the first Egyptians just invent all of this from scratch, or did they inherit it from somewhere else? Could they have been the heirs to an even older, lost culture? Now that is a really compelling idea, but it leads to an enormous question, right? If there was some super advanced older civilization, what on earth happened to it? What could possibly wipe an entire civilization so completely off the map that we barely even remember it? Well, the answer might lie in a period of absolutely insane climate chaos. See, the end of the last ice age, it wasn't this slow, gentle warming process. No, it was a violent, super abrupt period called the Younger Dryas, and it ended with something called meltwater pulse 1b, which is a scientific way of saying catastrophic, world-altering floods as the massive ice sheets just collapsed. And you have to think, an event that catastrophic would leave a deep, deep scar on the human psyche, on our collective memory. And guess what? We see evidence of that everywhere. You can find hundreds of flood myths from cultures all over the globe. The Mesopotamian epic of Gilgamesh, Noah's Ark and the Abrahamic traditions, the Hindu legend of Manu. We're talking about cultures that had absolutely no contact with each other, yet they all share this core fundamental memory, a world-destroying flood with just a few survivors on a boat having to start everything over. Heck, even the ancient Greeks talked about it. Plato famously wrote about a lost civilization he called Atlantis, destroyed by the sea in a single day and night of misfortune. So you have to wonder, was Atlantis just a myth, or was it a distant, fragmented memory of a real place and a real cataclysm? Okay, this all leads to the final million-dollar question. If this civilization existed, and if they got wiped out by a massive flood, Where's the proof? Where are all the buildings, the cities, the evidence? This number right here, this is the key to the whole thing. Plus 120 meters. That's about 400 feet. That is how much global sea levels rose after those giant ice sheets melted. Just try to picture that. That is an almost unbelievable amount of water. And that's when it all clicks into place. Maybe we've just been looking in all the wrong places. Think about it. Where do civilizations thrive? On the coasts, near the water. And where are the ancient coastlines from the Ice Age? They're now deep underwater, buried beneath hundreds of feet of ocean. All right, so let's pull all of this together. What does it all mean? How does this new perspective completely change the story of us? It means that maybe the story of humanity isn't this nice straight line of progress from caveman to us. Maybe it's a cycle of incredible achievement followed by cataclysmic loss, followed by the slow, painful process of rediscovery. And if that's true, then Egypt might not be the beginning of civilization. It might just be the restart, the first great chapter after a global cataclysm wiped the slate clean. And that just leaves you wondering, doesn't it? What else about our past have we forgotten?